Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Nice to see everybody. Sat all by yourself. You could join other people. You could have other people join you. Nice to see everybody. So for those of you that I don't know, my name's Jermaine. I'm a research prof, but I'm also Pro-Vice Chancellor Academic. So I look after all things academic, I guess, at BNU, including research. And it's a genuine honour to be able to stand here and kind of give the opening to Nela's professorial inaugural address. It's a pleasure to welcome colleagues, students, friends, guests this evening as we celebrate the work, the vision, and the impact of somebody whose career is demonstrating and exemplifying the power of art, memory, and all of that couched within civic engagement, which is so much of what we do here at BNU. So Professor Milic joined us in 2024. Was that 2 years ago? About the same time as me, yeah. As Professor of Arts Practice and leads the Centre for Enrichment of Culture and Identity. She's a scholar, an artist, and one of the things that I struggle to get my head around is how well she moves between practice, theory, and public life. And we've had these conversations. She creates spaces where art helps us to understand who we are, where we come from, and puts that in a societal lens too. Before joining BNU, Nela had senior academic roles at the University of Arts in London, completed a PhD and MA at Goldsmiths and the University of London, following undergraduate studies at the University of Westminster. And these were the foundations that shaped her distinctive interdisciplinary practice. Nela's research has made a number of novel and original contributions through practice-based and community-engaged methodology. Her work explores how memory shapes and is shaped by protest, migration, urban spaces, archives, and everyday acts of participation. So rather than treating memory as something that's fixed or historical, she reveals it as something that's lived, that's contested and continuously remade through artistic and social practice. Her commitment to social justice and inclusion is evident throughout her career. Nela founded and ran the Refugee in Arts Initiative, which is a national organisation supporting refugee artists, and her projects have worked with communities affected by migration, conflict, and displacement. She's recipient of the European Cultural Foundation Artistic Grant, as well as the Southwark Community Arts Awards, which recognises work that brings people together through creativity and shared cultural practice and space. She also has significant academic leadership. So she's a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy, co-chair of the Arts and Memory Working Group at the International Memory Studies Association, a founder member of Post-Socialism and Art Research Platform 2. So here at BNU, Professor Milic's work demonstrates our commitment to practice-based research, public value, interdisciplinary work, and cultural impact. And through her leadership, scholarship, mentorship, she enriches our research culture and strengthens our engagement with the world beyond the university. So this lecture isn't just about reflecting on past achievements, but an invitation to think differently about the role of art in society, which over the last few years, we have only seen from a political landscape be denigrated and put down. And I think it's really important to understand the impact that the arts have on not just the university, not just our students, but on society. So it's my honour, my pleasure, on behalf of everybody here at BNU, to introduce Professor Nela Milic to deliver her inaugural lecture.
Thank you so much, Jermaine. Thank you, everyone. This was so lovely. Thank you. Can I ask people at the back to come to the front? I was thinking maybe I can even sit here, but clearly not, because you're all at the back. Whoever can come to the front, please do indulge me. Laura, come on. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bravo, girls. Girl power. Okay. So, if you wonder why I work in the fast pace, am direct in delivery, and value people's time, it is the schooling I got in the media environment early on in my career. I learned to walk and talk and do not take things to heart as they are said on the run. In the speedy circulation of information, I had to record what I wanted remembered and select those records to create a story. In rendering of data, once, twice, and more, I was realizing that to forget is not to forgive. The rights that stayed right, the wrongs that stayed wrong, or ones that changed into another never left me. Articulating their reverberations is a task I'm grappling with as scholar ever since. In the 90s, I was a journalist in the culture offices of various media in Belgrade, while Serbia saw 4 wars. When there is despair, the culture can provide a shelter for the spirit. I fed it with engagement in the independent art scene, engrossed in civil rights activism, democratic progress, and socio-political change in the Balkans. These opposition actors joined with the students and brought the citizens to the streets in 96 and 97, contesting the alleged loss against the President Milosevic at the national elections. As the country soared into political crisis, accompanied by the economic sanctions and loss of reputation, the people had enough of food vouchers, prohibition of travel, and rising hard crime. It is on that protest, which lasted for 3 months, that I had experienced socially engaged arts practice which would mark me for life. Creative duo Shkart created coupons among many other printed things that were distributed to the protesters. As a well-known format, considering the harsh poverty we spiraled into, these coupons brought us hope. They were promising to get us the things we did not have for the years of Milosevic rule, from miracle to happiness. This was a funny reward after walking with my dad for 2.5 hours during the harshest winter Serbia has ever seen to take part in daily protest processions. It was also a discovery of how relevant, inspiring, and powerful art can be. This art, however, did not stop the downfall of my country, culminating in NATO bombing in 1999. After a month of it, and upon the assassination of Chiruvia, whose Daily Telegraph I worked for, I arrived in the UK. As I walked into my cousin's house in Norwich, I found her lying on the sofa, clutching the remote control of a television set too big for her room. Radio was on, as well as the video recording her flickering through CNN, BBC, satellite channels, Serbia's national television, chasing news everywhere. She welcomed me into her electrical den, embracing me in passing, and told me what was going on. This bastard Blair is not going to stop. I'm waiting to hear when the planes leave from here to call Mum and tell her to go down to the shelter. When the bombing started, I heard from her every day, broadcasting the news from abroad over the phone to us. After a couple of days of the NATO campaign, the situation in which you could diminish any second became normal. Many of us went about our everyday and even slept after the noise of the planes, bombs, defense rockets stopped in the early morning. My cousin would call even then, becoming annoying. We did not have mobile phones and could not stand by the phone all the time. I let her go gently at first because I appreciated her concern, but then I was so tired of the helicopters that I put a bunch of blankets in the wardrobe, attempting to simulate a soundproof studio so I could sleep, and I shouted at her before putting the phone down. Her ringing was just another noise to combat. She invited us all to come to her home in the UK, but our country was in the state of emergency. Apart from me, no one in our family was able to leave Serbia. I paid for that privilege when I picked up the videotapes spread around the carpet in her room. She was recording over her children's birthdays, replacing past with the present, denying her British identity. The woman who for last 20 years only saw her native city in some occasional tourist report on UK television now faced images of its devastations daily. She was flipped, more than I was, able to smell the pictures that she saw. Witnessing the psychological breakdown of the person unable to live with the past and the present at the same time, I started collecting her tapes from the floor, sorting them by date, television station, program, preserving the memory that my cousin had of her children by holding on the new established war archive from this recorded material. This work with images will make them a crucial aspect of my artistic research. I value them greatly and mind its current willy-nilly circulation, machine generation, mindless interventions, as they can break the person and did break my country. I used the first visual analysis of this thesis in my BA degree in film and television production that I started in Belgrade and finished at the University of Westminster. Sometimes the images are the only remnants of one's past, and for us refugees, the objects like these can be an essential mnemonic trope for accessing our histories. Even more, as Colombian artist Beatriz Gonzalez commented, art says things history cannot. It is this notion that art provides more than facts that I find fascinating. It allows us to think beyond the anthropocentrism that is destroying our planet. Embracing the world beyond the rational, metrics, and exactness of science positions us as just one of the many species that might be relevant for larger cosmic forces surrounding us. Art, therefore, pushes us to face ourselves with the faults we carry so we can move forward. Artists are therefore visionaries who reflect our weaknesses, but are seldom proclaimed saints who can save us. Sadly, they rather end up the enemies for revealing our shame. Many people and communities that were willing to bravely engage with their heritage, history, and legacies worked with me, allowing me to learn about so many cultures living in the UK and beyond, from the less fortunate that inhabit our inner cities to long-standing elites in rural parts of Britain. I started by running Refugees in the Arts Initiative, UK's national organization for the refugee arts, moving on to the biggest European arts centre, the Barbican, ahead of the London Olympics. Then came Al Jazeera, Royal Opera House, and many freelance opportunities in formal and informal education. Pupil referral units, old people's homes, prisons, social centers, before I decided to evaluate that work throughout my MA in Critical and Creative Analysis at Goldsmiths University of London. I fell in love with academia there so much that I continued to a PhD, working on practice-based research project about the above-mentioned protest. I mapped the city with artworks produced during the uprising, which is included in the curriculum of MA program Public Art, Public Space at the Architecture faculty of the University of Belgrade I still work with. I began teaching at Goldsmiths and continued at Middlesex University before settling at University of the Arts, London, as contextual and theoretical studies coordinator. I organized the delivery of 24 option modules for 450 students, taught 40 at MA program in sustainability and design, and supervised 9 PhDs, some traditional, some practice-based, amounting to 3 decades in education. Many of those PhD students are now part of my research groups and projects, together with my colleagues from those universities, including BNU. I chair Art and Memory Working Group of the largest memory studies organization in the world, MSA, for which we regularly create outputs. One of these was Voices of Memory exhibition last year, an international collaboration between renowned artists, many our staff who have shown amazing work, completing a world-class exhibition that has placed BNU, Brunel Shed, and Center for Enrichments in Culture and Identity on the local and the world map. We created a symposium, a show, and are preparing the publication that reflects this rich experience. Thank you to everybody who made this happen. Voices of Memory project, curated by Branislava Kuburovic and Irena Rehorova, started in Prague, had its edition curated by me in the UK and is moving along to Buenos Aires in yet another iteration across 2 venues, Zonderflag and Fundación Cazadores. Curators are Olga Bubic, Mirta Kupermins, Rebecca Harris, and Monica Dorniak. These exhibitions feature artists, academics, and artist academics like myself and my BNU colleagues. Liana Psaloglonkaki, Tom Megorian, Elizabeth Kalpaxi, Alexander Murphy, Phil Yelopoulos, Cole Robertson, and Anne-Marie Perks. Their work was seen by the staff working in other disciplines as well as local community that felt BNU has provided them with a world-class show. My work in public engagement provided me with so much knowledge as I was able to meet and access fascinating communities that were a world-class show in themselves. They took me through healing and taught me that it is possible and often desirable to live with and in tension, if not with others, then with oneself. Education is, as we know, both a struggle and a joy. And us who teach artists know their first task is to feel comfort with discomfort, to show that they feel whatever the price, to show what they feel whatever the price, but not claim victimhood when others point fingers at them, but own the integrity of their ideas. It is also a duty of others to remember that artists are part of our communities too, making them flamboyant, edgy, interesting. Here in High Wycombe, I have found a community that prides itself with its artists. I was not aware of that until we started drafting the proposal for the Town of Culture Award this year, offered by the Department for Culture, Media and Sport. The council gathered local cultural institutions, arts organizations, creative individuals, and tasked me to lead the application, placing university at the heart of community creativity and showing how forward-looking they are about the future of their county. Thank you, Anahita, for supporting me in this wonderfully. Almost everyone wants to be an artist, as they want the glory, the fame, the celebrity the most known artists enjoy. But nobody wants the envy, the anxiety, and the haunting many of the artists endure. As we are not taken seriously in life, we are not taken seriously at work either. With my young face, small physique, weak and nasal voice, I'm often seen as insignificant. But when I do say something substantial, corrective, or mature, people get surprised and sometimes offended, as it is not expected that we communicate much that matters. To demonstrate that we do, I will show you the film that was shot in Belgrade and premiered in Athens as part of the group exhibition Monsters of Paradise last month, curated by Elena Poca. The film focuses on the sound and lasts 17 minutes. If you need to go, please do so now. I won't mind, but it would be good if you do not exit during the film, because it is about the sound. And I will say a few words afterwards and close. The grief moves hope. It can be the last stage before we turn to action. The social movement birthed by the students who occupied or blocked universities in protest is a product of decades of repression and silence about the communist past and the Balkan Wars. We focused on identifying the victims and locations of terrible crimes committed for the ideology or the state, but we did not engage with sadness of our losses and our own desire to eradicate another. Some of us exited that void by migrating if we were not exiled during the wars already. We hid at global metropolises or remote villages, striving to stay as further away from the ethnic identification as it was possible. But the protests encouraged us to come out of the woodworks and embrace our young as a protective ring around them, so that another generation of the Serbs does not get defended or defeated by the history and captured by the memory as we are. I spent last 3 months in fear, knowing that I am to go into Serbia, show the film there, and try to get out. As the autocracy in the country heightens for the second time in my life, I risk my safety with making and showing this film in Belgrade, but I managed to leave the country yesterday. This is how seriously I take the art and get upset when it is trivialized as an accompaniment to greater things. I do the same with pedagogy, as my work depends on people I engage with, and so teaching can never be a job. Like art, it is a vocation and dedication I see in you. I love my job here and appreciate the creativity and innovation I'm faced with at Kate. Thank you, Russell, for your support, and Sabuj for the great trust. Thank you, Jermaine, and the Research Office for your help with the center and all of my projects. Liana, James, Jackie, Laura, Francesca. Thank you, Estates, for the work done at the shed. IT, that I bother with bizarre issues, HR and finance, Tracy and Omar in particular. Student Union, Library, Post Room, and cafe workers. Thank you, Damien and Cartini, who left, because you brought me here and embraced my hands and face movements like Pew. I'm grateful to my professorial colleagues, especially Arinola, Adetoro, and Kit, that treated me as equal since I arrived to BNU. I am delighted to collaborate with you as you represent the diversity of my world and an understanding that universities are still educational institutions, however much corporate culture permeates them. I speak and act freely and want the same for my colleagues and students, so the best of us can come to the fore. And if there is a conflict, we should do what artists do, scream and shout for a bit, and then invite the opponent for a drink. It transforms courteous aggression. We must keep our work critical and not fall into the Trump trap when difference of opinion is seen as criticism, a personal vendetta or unprofessionalism. For our diversity to be our strength, we need to be strong, to embrace the other without an assumption that they are there to take or attack. We need to look beyond ourselves and consider difference as potential for creative or collective growth, however hard it is to stick together or accommodate the other without compromising oneself, because we might need just that for our development, a wonderful nightmare of my socially engaged practice. The other might be in front of us to remind us that we should move on. It is only by taking this course that love and respect flourish, and for that effort, the other only deserves that we bow in front of them. So I'll do so for you. Thank you.